Yeah, we've strayed into this area of cyber and hybrid war a little bit earlier than we thought we would. And you've both said it's the difficulties with legislation, with codifying the process, but we've known this for some time. It's not new to us, and I'm wondering if we're moving further forward. We know we can track submarines using drones for at least 4 or 5 years. That's been possible. Former Defence Secretary Lord Brown warned in 2015 that Trident could be rendered obsolete by cyber attacks. So, given that, are you convinced you can actually give government updated information so that they can make accurate information, or are you actually suggesting that because of its complexities, there's no place for Parliament or government in the decision-making process?
No, I'm not suggesting that. So I'm going to declare an interest to the committee, which is that in my role as an Army Reservist, I'm Deputy Commander of 77 Brigade, which is our Information Advantage Brigade within the Army. And I think all I would say is that there's sort of mystique about cyber, but in many ways it is no different to any other golf club in the golf bag of potential military options. You know, it's not quite as mysterious as perhaps as some like to paint it, but it is a world that evolves very, very quickly, and our ability to do various things both defensively within cyber, and we are one of the few nations who have openly declared that we use offensive cyber, and we've declared that capacity to NATO, but we don't go into the detail of how that works, because to do so would be detrimental to, I believe quite firmly, our national security. But I don't think cyber should be treated really as any different to any other capability that our armed forces has. It's not different, but the nature of how we do things, because it's such a fast changing world, simply I can't see how legislation would keep up with that.
So, which brings me back to my question. If you can't see how legislation can keep up with that, are you suggesting there should be no legislation?
When I say legislation, as in the codifying of this convention.
And what's the difference?
Well, I'm saying that we are somehow suggesting that because cyber is new and people don't fully understand it, that we should treat it differently. What I'm trying to argue is it's like no other, it's very similar to other military capabilities, but because in the age of constant competition as we operate in the grey zone, but this is all sub-conflict threshold, that actually it doesn't change the position which we've already articulated, where I think there is no need to codify the convention, because the convention will evolve at a fairly rapid rate, and we would struggle to keep up with those changes.
But it's not that new, and I do understand it, and it does scare the life out of me, knowing what its capabilities are. So the question is, how do you brief a government or a parliament to make decisions about cyber warfare?
Well, I mean, in no different to any other capability that we have, where you know, we would seek to update Parliament, but there'll be some elements, some aspects, as there are in our other military capabilities, for example, our nuclear deterrent, where we wouldn't go to Parliament and explain every detail of it.
But you talked about the speed of a cyber attack. Sure, that's a key to this. If someone's moving a tank division across a country, we can see that happening, predict where it's going to go to, and maybe or maybe not take actions. If some cyber attack is happening, it's happening there, it's happening now, it's happening rapidly. So how do you go back to the government and say, we have to do something about this?
Then you reinforce the point why it wouldn't be possible to come and seek Parliament's permission to respond to it. If it's happening so quickly, then clearly we have to respond without necessarily Parliament having a role.
And did I hear you correctly that